Hello YouTube, we're super excited today to build our very first terrarium with you guys. We're looking forward to putting various types of moss, some plants, and we even have the idea that we're going to try and see if we can get moss to grow on a bone we found. So what I'm doing right now is I'm filling it up with
hydroton or leca. These are predominantly used in hydroponics, or at least commonly used. They're just expanded clay pebbles. Honestly, you could probably just use gravel. We just happen to have these around the house, so we're using them anyways. The only other gravel we had was bright green, so. So what I'm doing is I took the lid. Normally you can do this with the bottom of the container itself, and I placed it on top of some carbon fiber window screen. And what this screen is going to do is it's going to be a layer on top of this hydroton to kind of keep the drainage layer where the excess water is going to rest separate from the soil that's going to be above it. You definitely want to make sure you cut a little bit extra, because when you put it in there, it's better to have a little overlap that comes against the glass than have too little and get the soil down into the drainage layer. If the soil gets too wet and stagnant, it can start having issues with anaerobic bacteria. They'll basically create bad gases for whatever's inside of it. It can start putting off ammonia or things similar to that as they start breaking down.
So now what we have here is some activated carbon, which is just going to do a bit of filtration essentially and purifying the water that passes through this layer.
Now the screen isn't, since we cut it a little bit larger, it isn't going to really want to rest well inside of here. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to kind of want to pile a little bit up on top of the middle of the screen. And then once you have into the middle screen, kind of spread it out against the edge. You don't need to have the biggest layer. You really just need about as much to cover it. Now that we have our layer of activated carbon in here, now it's not essential to put this layer in, but it's definitely recommended. As the water starts passing down through the soil into the drainage layer, it helps just kind of filter it out. And it's also it just keeps things fresh and helps kind of combat the fungus and mold outbreak that you might be
experiencing.
Yeah, because when you start closing up a container and it's really moist and there's not a lot of airflow, you can start having a lot of issues with that thing. So this activated carbon is one of the things we do to try to help combat that and reduce the risk of it. Now that that's down though, we're going to put our actual substrate on top of it. The substrate itself, it's designed in a way where it's going to be kind of a light one that's not going to compact too much, because you don't want it to pack down. And it's also going to allow the water to drain through it, as well as kind of retain moisture at the same time. Honestly, if you want to, you could even make it purposely uneven to give it a little bit of a sense of scale or landscape. So it's kind of nice because it's all up to whatever you want to do. It doesn't have to be a perfectly flat thing. Maybe you'll add in some nice stuff later.
Okay, now that we've gotten the substrate layer all figured out, we're going to start setting up the plants and just seeing what kind of looks the best to us and arranging them.
Excuse us, Kitty.
Kitty's going to help us set up this terrarium.
Excuse me.
No.
You can be over here, Kitty. You're not in the way of the camera there. I think
turn it.
I would put the hard pieces in first and then work the plants around that. I found this pretty interesting stick, and I really love the moss that was on it. And what we're going to do is we're going to use it in this tank, but it's a little bit longer than I need. I'm going to cut the stick a little bit shorter, and then we're going to still wind up using it in the tank. So what I'm going to wind up doing now is I'm just spraying down the walls, partially to try to clean off the walls from any dirt that kind of got put there while we were moving stuff around, and also because the drainage layer that I put in here was completely dry. And ultimately you do want to have a little bit of standing water down in that bottom layer. So I'm going to be spraying off the sides, again, just trying to clean the dirt off the wall. And then I'm going to let it kind of settle a bit. I'm going to spray the rest of the area down too. And once I get an idea of how much water has actually made it through here, I'll probably check back in on it a little bit later and as well as tomorrow to make sure that there's a good level. You don't want too much in there. If you do get too much, just kind of leave it open. We want to get a nice good balance in here of water before we wind up sealing this up. And I know that that layer I have down there in the bottom is going to soak up a decent little bit of water. So now that we have the terrarium all put together, the next thing we were going to do was make a seal for it. This container, when we bought it, doesn't really have a nice airtight seal. And I tried to make a seal, but unfortunately, all I managed to make was this instead. So we'll have to keep you updated as we make the seal for it, so that way if you have a container of your own that you like that doesn't inherently come with one, you can make one as well.
If any of you would like to join us on Discord, we have a pretty active community going where everyone can chat about ecospheres and terrariums and the little critters they find as well as their pets.
So every Friday, we are going to be releasing new videos at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and we hope you enjoy those videos yet to come as well as you enjoy this video. Take care.